Are you ready for your headliner this evening? I've been a fan of this dude for so long. He has a killer Comedy Central half hour. He's also just kind of like the us of Cleveland. He's this like DIY guy who just gets shit done, stages cool shows, does festivals. I love this dude. We're like kindred spirits, and I'm so glad he's here at the Grawlix. Please welcome Ramon Rivas, everybody.
Thank you. Keep it going for all the comedians you've seen. This is a new. A couple years ago, I bought this drum machine off of Facebook Marketplace because I'm 40 and I still be on Facebook. And this dude was selling it like suspiciously cheap, and I always wanted one. So I was like, "Hey man, why are you selling this so cheap?" And he was like, "Oh, my girl's pregnant, so you know." And I was like, "Oh, all right, here's a couple weeks of diaper money. Give me your dreams." So sometimes I'll just bring it on stage so that I can write it off on my taxes. And you could probably tell from that statement, I don't really pay taxes. But I know if I do, I write off the sweater too. So I've been making music the last few years. Because I'm my own record label, I could bootleg my shit like I'm Master P. Just in time for no one to have CD players. But in case you do, I'm gonna throw a couple CDs out. This is some jokes with beats underneath it called Bits Over Beats. And then this one, last summer, I put on my vision board make 5 beats a day for 1 summer. It's inspired by a Kanye lyric. He's like 5 beats a day for 3 summers. That's a different world, like 3 summers. So I only did 1 summer because I feel like anti-Semitism must kick in summer 2 or 3. So I was in Denver for a week during that, so I made a bunch of music. So I put out an album called DIA because I started it and ended it at the airport. I have more if you want one after the show. Sometimes I'll build a song at the end, but I'm not gonna do that long. So I'm just gonna play random shit behind my jokes. We'll start with some stuff. I made this at the Comedy Fort the other night. That's too loud now. Can everyone hear that? I want it to be I don't want it to be overpowering, but it's whatever. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, which is a weird place sometimes. Like in 2016, Cleveland was the first city in North America to host a thing called the Gay Games, which if you don't know what the Gay Games is, it's the Olympics for queer and transgender athletes, which is like, you could just call that the Olympics. But I say that, but you forget there's parts of the world where if you're openly queer and trans, it's like a death sentence. And that's what America's trying to get back to. But it was a really beautiful time to be in Cleveland because all the businesses in town put out little rainbow flags to let queer people and their allies know they're welcome. I was very proud to be from Cleveland. And then a little later that same year, Cleveland also hosted the Republican National Convention, which is just a little different. And all those same businesses put out little rainbow flags again, and then set them on fire to let the Republicans know that they were welcome. I do get to travel all over the country, which is cool. I performed at the Mall of America in Minnesota. I'd never been up there before. I learned that Minnesota's clocking in at 95% flat butts. which is a really alarming statistic. I was like, this isn't my America. My America's much thicker with it than this. So all weekend I'm like walking around the mall like looking for, finally I thought I saw one big booty, but somehow it was just a long back. Very disconcerting. Sometimes I feel bad I'm on the road, like I miss things. I miss my dad's birthday because of that gig. So I texted him, I was like, hey, I love you, so I'm right there to celebrate with you. I could bring you a gift back, or I could cook us a meal when I get home. He was like, ooh, a meal sounds great. I was like, all right, cool, I get home tomorrow, we'll get steak, shrimp, lobster, I'll make mac and cheese, rice and beans, the whole nine. He's like, ooh, we gotta wait till Saturday for all that. I just started a diet, I only get one cheat day a week. And at first I was like, oh, that's cool, he's like 60, taking care of himself, but then I was like, you know you cheated on my mom a whole bunch, right? I'm just saying I don't have much faith in this diet. I'd actually be offended if you stuck to the diet. Oh, you got more respect for counting calories than you did for my mom. The whole person. Don't get me wrong, I love my dad. I just wish he was my uncle instead of my dad. His behavior wouldn't affect me. Now it'll pop up like, I was listening to this J. Cole album when he has a lyric where he's like, all I want to do is kill the man that made my mama cry. And I'm like, yeah, that's my dad. Got to go to therapy mid-song. That's not funny. I also got to go out to Nashville for the first time and perform. I was really excited to go. And then a couple weeks before I went, they passed a law banning any performances by a gender non-conforming artist. And I didn't know how to feel because I got morals, so I was like, maybe I shouldn't go. And then also, I got titties and I pee sitting down. Neither of which conform to my gender. So it's like, what's gonna happen to me? Like, how illegal is this? If someone rats me out for pissing comfortably, like, what's gonna happen? And it gets weird once you start policing people's personhood, but that's like baked into America. And people get kind of mad when I bring that up. They're like, no, America's the most inclusive place in the world. Our founding document starts with we, the people. I'm like, that's not an inclusive statement. If I say we all had a good time at the Grawlix show, that means we all had a good time. If I'm like, we, the people had a good time, you're like, who wasn't a person? Did someone bring in a therapy dog? Like, what do you... Well, language has changed since that sentence was written. Like, if you do not own property, clap your hands. If you do not own property, none of y'all are people. Because the people and we the people own property. So if you don't own property, you ain't no person. If you're a woman that does own property, clap your hands. A woman that does. I see you, queens. Y'all ain't people either. Because the people and we the people are men that own property. So like, how you gonna possess some girl? That's mine. That's not me, that's the sentence. If you're a non-white man that owns property, clap your hands. Okay, the banks do a good job keeping that number low. But we not people either. Most black and brown men were considered savages or property, so like, you're not a person either. If you're a white man that does own property, clap your hands. Congratulations. Y'all have been people the whole time. And I think that's the big difference of like what's happening right now, because like I feel like a lot of people, I remember seeing this interview, this dude was like, I voted for Trump because he's the only one gonna do something about the dispossession of white people. And dispossession means that you feel like you're losing your position or your possessions. And I'm like, damn, how do you think the rest of us feel? It's crazy you could just opt out of it. Like, I didn't know that was an option. I just thought I had to just deal with it. Y'all are just like, I don't know. And you see it now with like trans people, you know, the legalities and shit around it, like, and it's always conservative people, like, how are you a he, him, or a she, her, like, or how are you a they, them? Like, how are you a they, them, and a person? I'm like, how are y'all confused? You've been transitioning to LLCs for a long time. Like, y'all think Hobby Lobby's a person. You're so close. And then I'll admit, like, trans people make it uncomfortable sometimes too. Like, I run a show in Cleveland, and this comic was on stage, and she was kind of bombing, and halfway through her set, she's like, oh, y'all don't like trans people? And just kind of started shitting on the crowd. And I'm like, oh, I don't think any of us have a problem with you being trans. We all just thought you was an ugly woman who was really bad at comedy, which is the most allied position. I voted for the youngest person who ran for president. That's usually I don't even want an old server. You ever had an old server and they're struggling with like the iPad and shit, and you're like, damn, you don't got no family members that love you and will take care of you? Just back out in the workforce like this? It's unfortunate. It's weird, the laws in this country are weird. Like, anyone familiar with the Naturalization Act of 1790? It's not really obscure. It's like one of the first like major pieces of legislation around like how to become a citizen in the country, right? And so basically you just had to be a resident of a state or territory for a certain amount of time and then be able to validate your whiteness. Like that part was around till like the 50s. And it's like, how are you supposed to do that like back then? Like nowadays I just wear New Balances. But back then, like America would pull it over people's eyes, like when Mexican-American War, when they treated, Mexico was like, all right, y'all can have the Southwest as long as all the Mexican people who live there can become citizens, get access to citizenship. And America was like, sign that paper. And then was like, all right, Mexicans that are here, validate your whiteness. And they were like, huh? And America was like, all right, give us your link. And just made labor class. And I was like, oh, okay. You just do that. And I'm half Puerto Rican and half Mexican, which is like, Puerto Rico is like an occupied U.S. territory, which is like, you're an American citizen, you're just not allowed to vote because your collective opinions might fuck shit up. You can vote if you leave the island, but on the island, they'd have to give you electoral votes. It's like how many 3/5 of people are on the island. And I don't know if you ever, like, pretty much it boils down to like Puerto Rico's like America's side piece. I don't know if you ever had a relationship on the side, but usually it hits a certain point where it's like they're like either love me or let me go. And people are like, oh, that must be Puerto Rico to America. And America's like, calm down, girl, take these paper towels, wipe yourself down. You be all right. But most Puerto Ricans just want like self-determination, which is just waking up and deciding what you want to do, how you want to do it, of your own independent accord. Which is what that's America's pursuit of happiness. It's like we guaranteed that. But there's still that tethered thing of Americanness to whiteness. It permeates to this day, because I travel all over the country, and people are always like, where are you from? And I'm like, Ohio. And they're like, no. Where are your parents from? And I'm like, oh, Ohio. Hoping that's like the end of the conversation. But a lot of times they're like, no, where are their parents from? I'm like, oh, you trying to see how far back you go to devalue me, huh? And they're like, no, I just want to know, like, what are you? I'm like, oh, I'm a human being, person, same as you. They're like, no, I just want to, I'm like, I get it. I said Ohio, which is America, and you're like, well, you can't be America because I'm America. Like, what's this, though? That white shit, like, and it makes me mad because I was born on an Air Force base, which is one of the most American places you could be born. The only more American place you could be born is at like a Walmart during a mass shooting. Updated. Yes. It's interesting watching white people become disenfranchised by white people. Like, it's crazy. Because I personally, I think there's a difference between being a white person and then a person who's white. Does that make sense? Like, I'll give you an example. The server at a comedy club, she's like real tatted up, and she moved to this neighborhood that would be termed ghetto, right? So she moved to a neighborhood, and the lady selling her house, like, this neighborhood's terrible. She had like bars over the windows, had a bunch of cameras in a room, because she's like, my house gets broken into all the time. And my friend's like, huh? And my friend goes and talks to the neighbors, like, hey, my name's I'm moving on over here. Oh, thank God, that lady who lives there is such a bitch. Because what would happen is the little kids in the neighborhood would be out playing, and the lady would be like, get off my yard, and would like be mean to the kids, so their older siblings would break into her house. Now the person who used to live there is a white lady, white person. Her like she felt like this is my space. My moral compass points to absolute north, so y'all need to accommodate and act accordingly. And if you're a person who's white, you're a person first. You're like, oh, they just want to play outside, so we good. You know. So my friend just be paying the little kids to like mow the lawn and shit, and everyone loves her. It's like, oh, you figured it out. Just don't be a terrible person. But it's also, I feel like whiteness is also something I try to, like, I remember in high school I went by Raymond. That's what I had people. It was I remember I got a Costco membership because I used to sell candy out of a briefcase. And I got on my Costco membership, it said Raymond Rivas. And one day, like I went with my dad and he saw the card and he was like, what you doing? If I want you to name Raymond, I'd name you Raymond. You ain't no white boy. I was like, I'm not. All the other people kind of tell me I am because I don't speak Spanish. But it's all right. I used to live with my dad because it was super duper free. It was a good arrangement. It got weird because my mom hit a rough financial patch, so she moved back in with my dad to save too. They'd been divorced for like 20 years. So I didn't know how to feel having grown up in a broken home that was not back together because we're all too broke. One of us should get our shit together. It wound up being me. I moved out to LA in 2016, partially to follow my dreams of being a stand-up comedian, but if I'm being completely honest with you, it's mostly because I was finding it very difficult to have sex while living with both my parents. Then I moved to LA and I realized my parents were not the problem. A lot of me. I always had a lot of anxiety around dating and relationships, you know. Part of it is my dad cheated on my mom a whole bunch, but also my dad is one of 16 children, which is a preposterous amount of people to come out of one person. No twins, no triplets, just one at a time. There's 30 years between the oldest and the youngest kid. That's a whole historical generation. Imagine giving birth to a whole chapter of a history book. And nowadays you have that many kids, you get book deals, you get TV shows. Like we all know the Duggars for some reason. My grandma timed it wrong, she just got to raise kids. 17. That's full court 5-on-5 basketball with subs and coaches. And all the recent news has made me look at my family history through a different lens because they overturned Roe versus Wade, which is crazy because people hate pulling out. So it's like, y'all probably could have just left that alone. And there was a big conservative movement to get it overturned, which makes me concerned that conservative pussy might be very dry, which would explain why they're all so mad and don't want anyone else to be happy. Willing to be proven wrong. But so far, it's a sound hypothesis. But they overturned it, so they took away a woman's choices, a woman's options, a woman's agency. So it's made me look at my grandmother, in case of forced birth, no choices, because she had all 17 of those kids before Roe versus Wade was even a thing you could do. And she grew up poor on the island of Puerto Rico, so no real options there. And then Puerto Ricans are very Catholic culturally, and Catholics don't even believe in contraception. They just do the old pray and spray. So not a lot of religious options. And then my grandma just fell in love with a shitty dude. You fall in love with the wrong person, you could mess up generations of people. My grandpa didn't marry my grandma until the last kid, 30 years in. Because he found out if he died and they weren't married, his pension would disappear. So he was like, oh, I can't fuck up my money, let's get married. It's like, damn, he was a shitty person. And like, you know, he was alcoholic, abusive, which you go far back in any of our family trees, you find that. And people are like, well, maybe your grandma should have left. It's like, you couldn't even have a bank account as a woman back then unless a man said it was okay. Not even your husband, just any dude could go to the bank, tell her like, hey man, she seems cool. I think she can handle the math. She just didn't have a lot of options, you know. I did a little digging, I found out my grandma was 13 when she had the first kid. We're just like, grandma, you little hoe. Then I found out my grandpa was like 18, 19, it's like, oh, you creepy as fuck. That's some like child bride, child rape shit, which is cool in most conservative states. And then looking at the impact of just denying one woman choices, they had 17 kids, they all had kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids, great-great-great-great-great-grandkids. Now we're around like 300, 350 people. That's a lot of taxpayers, that's a little economy. Bunch of veterans, a couple prisoners, which is America's favorite, they're like free labor, It's a big impact for just denying one woman choices. And I wonder if you gave my grandma a choice, what she would have done. If you were like, hey, you want to start having kids right now for the next 30 years? She probably would have been like, I think I might just want to go to 6th grade. Get this last year of recess under my belt. So next year we got to memorize a locker combination. That sounds mad complicated. But I hear there'll be chicken fingers, so. And I say that knowing full well, like if my grandma had a choice, I might not be here. I'd be sitting up in heaven smoking weed all day, getting my dick licked. Biggie didn't think it was possible, but it did. That joke's for like 3 people. But seeing that big ass family, all those people having people, I was like, oh shit, I must be super fertile. So I'm gonna start smoking weed to get these numbers down immediately, just to do my part. So I was anxious about that. I was worried if I had sex with someone, I would just get them pregnant. So, and then my dad cheated on my mom a whole bunch, and my father and my sister cheated on her. So I was like, I don't want to disabuse a woman of the notion of love like that. So I was like, okay, I guess I should only have sex with people I care about. That was my goal. And then at 26, I was like, I could probably change. Because I was a virgin until I was 26, and then again from 27 to 28. Shut right back up. And that's late. Most people having sex in high school or in college. After a show one time, this dude come up to me, he was like, I was having sex when I was 12. I was like, you might have just got molested. You should talk to someone who's not me about it. Got a lot of my own shit going on. But it was weird because I would meet women who would love me, they just weren't attracted to me, which means I helped a lot of people move. But it was weird, like, you know, because dating apps helped a lot, because I still to this day don't know what it is about me people find attractive, and there's a peace of mind to knowing what it is so you can lean into it. Like, your app, just keep doing crunches, people will have sex with you. You even gotta have a personality, just lift up your shirt. If you got a boat, just keep having a boat. You're at the top of the food chain. I don't know what to lean into, so I'm just out here very wobbly, which isn't attractive. But dating apps solved all the issues. If you find me attractive, swipe one way. If you don't, swipe the other. So one day I'm like smoking weed with one of my childhood friends, and she's like, "What are you doing? What game are you playing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just on Tinder." She's like, "You're not even reading anyone's profile." I was like, well, I know what I look like, so I'm just playing the numbers. Like, I don't understand women, but I understand math, you know? And she's like, how's dating going with no discernible care? I was like, it's not bad. I've been going on more dates, getting experience. That seems good. She was like, you had sex with anybody yet? I was like, no, I'm waiting to have sex with someone I care about. She was like, you gotten head yet? I was like, no, I'm waiting to have sex with someone I care about. She was like, head's not sex. I was like, tell me more. And that's a pretty divisive point. So if you consider head sex, clap your hands. If you consider head sex. It's a fair amount of force. Now clap if you count head towards your overall number of partners. No one clapped. It was like, ooh, I can't fuck my math up like that. I think that's what exponents are for. It's an intimate act, but everyone's intimacy scale is different. Some people has more intimate than sex. They treat that shit like fine china, like we only bring this out when good company comes over. And even then, don't touch it. Other people, they'll give you head before they learn your last name. We call those folks sweet baby angels. I told that joke one time and a lady in the audience made a halo above her head with her hands, which really changed that Beyonce song for me. But that also fucked me because it gave me a lane where like I still wasn't having sex with people I didn't care about, but now I could like accept care, so it became a hoe for like just head. And I got called out by one of my friends was like, you being a selfish asshole using all these women, you need to be better. I was like, you right. So I got off dating apps and then went full on fucking, which I feel like was the wrong lesson to take. I don't know. I was seeing this girl for a couple months and we were laying in bed and she couldn't find her phone. So I just called her, I heard it buzzing, I grabbed it, I picked it up, and I was saved in her phone. It was 3 of those arm cross emojis and then my name and then 3 thumbs down. Like a restaurant that gave her food poisoning. And I was like, hey, why you got me saved on your phone like this? And she's like, oh, I have you saved like that, so I know not to care about you, because I know you don't care about me. You don't take me dancing, you don't take me to dinner, you don't take me to the movies, it is what it is. And I was like, I didn't know how to be like, oh, I don't even go do any of that shit by myself. It's just not on my budget, but I was like, oh, my bad, I didn't realize that. She was like, yeah, sometimes you make me feel like I'm not a person, like I'm just a hole you're visiting. I was like, now calm down, what the fuck, what am I doing? She's like, there's just been times where you called your Uber to go home too soon after we got done having sex. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't think or realize or even consider that was hurting your feelings. I was just trying to beat these surge prices. I didn't say that out loud, but that was the truth. That's when I started to realize how much my financial poverty was directly impacting my emotional poverty. Because I made this woman feel like she was not a person because I was trying to say $12. I was like, I should probably fix my credit. My credit used to be $450, which is, yeah, that's bad. I did a corporate gig for like a housing, like people who sell houses, and I said that, they're like, ooh. I was like, y'all probably would rip up my application after I left. They're like, honestly, we wouldn't even let you fill it out. But they don't teach you about credit growing up. Like for a long time, I was like, if I don't have credit, I can't fuck it up. And then I started working at Sears, and they're like, you should get a Sears card. And I was like, you right. And I immediately fucked it up because they were like, you want 90 days same as cash or $100 off? I was like, give me that 90 days same as cash. That way anything I buy in the next 90 days is paid for same as cash. And that's not what that means. So I fucked up my credit with a mini disc player and some sheets. That's what I bought before I went to college. I never made a payment. I came back, they're like, you owe us $4,000. I was like, I took it out on the company. They had changed the vending machine to where you remember when they changed them to where like you could see all the sodas and hit the button and it would just drop to the bottom and you grab it. One day my shit got stuck, so I shook the machine and like 6 drinks fell out. I was like, oh, I ain't never paying for shit again. So every day I would come in, shake the machine, grab some drinks, walk around like Robin Hood, like, you thirsty? Here you go. You thirsty? Here you go. And then when I'd leave at the end of the night, I would shake it again, take the drinks and go home. For months. And finally, security called me in the office. I was like, what's going on? They're like, you've been stealing. I was like, I ain't never stole none a day in my life. And then they hit play on a supercut of me just shaking the vending machine. So finally, I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna fix my credit. So I went to the bank. I was like, can I get a credit card? They looked at my account. They're like, a little one. My credit limit when they opened it was $67. Which, like, that number don't even make no sense. So I got it. I paid my cell phone bill. I went to buy McDonald's, and it got declined. And so I called the bank, and I was like, hey, I just paid my credit card. I got paid my cell phone bill. I bought some McDonald's saying it's declined. Can you raise my credit limit? And they're like, oh no, we can't. And honestly, you shouldn't be using it that much. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you should really only carry 30% of what your allowance is. I was like, I wish y'all would have taught me this instead of everything I learned in gym. Don't know shit about taxes or credit, but I know how to play two-step roll dodgeball to this day. That is what I do. But I appreciate y'all coming out. I come to Denver like a couple times a year. It's always fun. Give a round of applause to all the comedians you've seen doing their thing. It's one of those shows like Adam was saying, we're kindred spirits. He's right. I run similar shows in Cleveland. I don't fuck with birds, but I respect them. I'm just not like. But yeah, this is one of those shows like I've always known about the Grawlix like since I started doing comedy, so it's cool to be able to like finally be on one of the shows. If you enjoy me, my name online on everything is Blazer Ramon because I wear a lot of sport coats. It's just weed and wrestling together, honestly. I have 8 albums on streaming platforms, 4 music, 4 comedy. If you listen to everything I've made, it's 150 total tracks. If you listen to it all, start to finish, I'll make 82 cents. So I sell my bootleg CDs. You can pay whatever you want. Most people don't even have a CD player anymore, but if you have an old car, I got you. It also just has my website on there, and then you can remember, because a lot of people just don't know how to spell Hispanic names. Like anytime I order pizza, I'm like Ramon Rivas. They're like, okay, and the box comes, it says Rivers. I went, my doctor, my primary care physician just keeps calling me Ramos, which is neither Ramon or Rivas, but kind of close enough to both of them. I don't know. But I'll be out front if you want a CD. I just do a bunch of random shit. I've been making music. I wrote a short film recently about a cage-free farm-fresh chicken named Chi-Chi. Because my girlfriend always makes me she's like, you gotta get the cage-free farm-fresh eggs. They're nicer to the chickens, and they're like a little bit more than regular eggs. And I'm like, you know there's a chicken on the farm that every day lays an egg that they want to raise up into a chicken to hang out with, and every morning the farmer's like, nah. So that's what the short film's about. I let my niece read it, and she drew Chi-Chi for me, which was cool. And I was like, will you draw everything I need to make it like an animated film? She was like, not for free. Hence the CDs. But it's nice. She's old. She's like 22 now. We get along, which is nice as an adult. Like, we're about to go to a concert when I go back. It's going to be fun. But when she was a kid, she didn't fuck with me. I think it's just because her dad wasn't in the picture. She just didn't fuck with any male authority figure. And like I would do my best, like to do just to fill the void. Nothing ever quite did. I'll never forget one day I was like, Amarisa, what do you want to do today? We'll go to the mall, the movies, whatever you want to do, we're gonna go do. She looked right back at me like, all I want you to do is get away from me because you're fat and ugly. And I know how to break it to her that she looks just like me. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Be safe.